NFL Week 14, all game picks. Really great lineup this weekend. Looking forward to this. Thursday night kicks it off with the Cowboys Lions. Should be interesting. Bears, Packers, Texans, Chiefs. Then you have some really good divisional matchups. You have the Ravens hosting the Steelers for the North, Colts and the Jaguars for the South, and the AFC Classic playoff type matchup with the Bengals and the Bills. So let's kick it off with the Eagles at the Chargers. Primary concern here, of course, is the health of Justin Herbert. Has a fracture in the non-throwing hand, expected to have surgery on Monday. We're recording this Monday. Really have to wait to see what's going on with that. We would have to think that he's not going to play. That would be really risky to bring your franchise quarterback into a game after a fractured hand and going up against that tough Eagles defense. Another team that really is struggling to get their offensive identity. Really a lackluster showing last couple of weeks, especially against the Bears. We hope and we think this will bounce back. We would expect Herbert not to play. Take the Eagles here narrowly, 24-21 on the road. And next up, we have the Bengals at the Bills. Definitely an AFC playoff caliber matchup, especially now that Joe Burrow is back leading the Bengals. And it was great to see him back on Thanksgiving night. What an upset over the Ravens. We'll talk about that one in a little bit. But Joe Burrow seemed to be back to his old MVP caliber form. Making passes, Jamar Chase spreading the ball around, very impressive. Didn't seem like he missed a beat after that injury. And then, of course, the Bills. The Bills have not been as impressive this year as they've been in prior years. Josh Allen seems to waver from week to week, but the great game against the Steelers, really dominant victory at Pittsburgh. With he coming back home, we think we'll see some improvements. We think the Bills are going to get ready for the playoffs. They're still chasing the Patriots, of course, in the AFC East. We think the Bengals win was impressive, but a lot of that was the 4 turnovers by the Ravens. We'll talk about that more later in the video. We like the Bills here, 31-28 over the Bengals. And for the Thursday night game, we got the Cowboys at the Lions. Both teams, of course, already played on Thanksgiving. Surprising loss for the Lions and a great victory for the Cowboys. And then some of the questionable calls people were complaining about for the Chiefs. We don't see it that way. We think the Cowboys outplayed them, one of our misses for the week. But we think the Cowboys with that offense, very impressed with what they've got with the combination of Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. We thought that would be great heading in this year. And the Lions are going the opposite direction. We don't want to criticize Dan Campbell too much. We really like him. But sometimes you don't have to go for it on 4th down when you can get a field goal and maybe put yourself within 7 points. But we look at this Lions offense, they definitely miss Ben Johnson. We think he's definitely a candidate for Coach of the Year, both for what he's done for the Bears and what the Lions lack without him. But we like the Lions here, 28-24 over the boys. And next, our viewer poll, we call it the question of the week. We want to get your opinion. Which NFL division is strongest from top to bottom? Just mentioned the NFC North. Got the Packers, Lions, and surprising Bears. Then look out for the NFC West. Rams, Seahawks, and 49ers. And there are a couple in the AFC. The West is strong with the Chiefs, Broncos, and Chargers. And now my Texans are strong with the Colts and Jags in the South. So let us know which division you think is overall the best in the NFL. And a team from the division that gets my vote, the NFC West. The Seahawks travel here to the ATL to face the Falcons, who've really been struggling all season and a really crushing defeat at New York against the Jets, giving up that 58-yard knuckleball field goal to the Jets to lose it. One of our upset picks, by the way. But we look at the Seahawks team, and we truly believe they are trailing the Rams right now. They lost to the Rams head-to-head, but if we had to vote, I think they have the strongest team in the NFC, 9-3 right now. The Falcons, of course, going the other direction. Penix is out for the season. Cousins has played well, but still Penix is the quarterback of the future. And again, like we said, we think the Rams and the Seahawks are the top 2 teams in the NFC. We think that continues here, 28-17 for the Seahawks here in the ATL. And as Texans fans, we want both these two teams to lose, but they can't play each other for the first place in the AFC South. Colts at the Jaguars should be really interesting. Been impressed with what Daniel Jones has done with that Colts offense. They've hit a bit of a speed bump lately, but really they've played a couple of tough teams. And again, we think that loss at Pittsburgh kind of set them back a little bit. They really haven't been the same since. The Jags, on the other hand, have been going the opposite direction. Won 2 straight. Look like they're playing quite well. Curious to see if Jones and that balanced passing offense, and then if Taylor can get going again, we think that's going to be a huge difference against the Jags. We like them here against the Jags, 28-21. And the Titans at the Browns, 2 teams definitely rebuilding and looking ahead towards 2026. Titans have struggled all year, lost their head coach. Cam Ward has been good, not great. Shedeur, on the other hand, with the Browns, had that one good game, struggled against the 49ers as a really tough defense led by Robert Saleh. So we think Cam Ward, we were wondering when that streak of rookie quarterbacks coming in right away and being successful would end. It's definitely ended with Ward, but that's not his fault. Not a good supporting cast around him, which you'd expect from a last-place team that had the first round overall pick. We look at this one, we think it's going to come down to which team has the better defense, and that's clearly Cleveland. So we like the Browns here 21-17 over the Titans at home. Let's look at recent week's results. Let's look at the better one. Week 12, we went 12-2. Week 13, the week of the upset, a week in which 7 underdogs won outright, including a 10.5-point dog and 2 7.5-point dogs. We still went 10-5. We picked a couple underdogs, the Texans and the Jets, but really a tough week for the favorites. But so far, going back 10-5 this week, week 12, 12-2. Prior to that, we were 11-4. So see if we can build on that success for week 14. NFC North rivalry game here. Bears at the Packers. This game's going to decide who's going in first place, at least for now. Just a footnote. Stay tuned to the end of the video. We're going to do a deep dive analysis to show you how we come up with this score. It's not just arbitrary. We have all the inputs. So stay tuned to the end. We'll talk about it then. But for this one, we want to talk about Caleb Williams and that Bears offense. We're able to really put it to the Eagles with a balanced run and pass. Really ran more, or over 200 yards against that Eagles defense. And then we look at the Packers. What we love about the offense is the balance, one of our favorite words. You got Jordan Love throwing it. You got Josh Jacobs on the ground. We think that overall balance is probably going to be a little bit more than the Bears can handle. And the real edge in this matchup is going to be on the defensive side. We'll show you again the stats we use to prove that. The Packers defense a little better, 28-21. And another great divisional matchup, this time the AFC North. You got the Steelers traveling to Baltimore to face the Ravens. Both of these teams off really tough defeats. Steelers getting crushed by Buffalo at home, and the Ravens, what can I say about that game except 5 turnovers? Some of them were ridiculous, like that one, losing the ball right out of your hand, fumbling the ball at the goal line to go out for a touchback. I hate that. Like this one right here, and then another Lamar fumble that was inexplicable at their own 2-yard line. Not sure what was happening there. But when we look at turnovers, we don't think that repeats. We think teams bounce back from that. Doesn't always happen, but that's the way we see it. Because when you turn the ball over more than 4 or 5 times, you lose 96% of the time. Aaron Rodgers didn't complete the game against the Bills. We're curious about if he's going to be able to return. Either way, we look at this matchup. We think, especially being in Baltimore and the fact that it was such a flukish game for the Ravens, we like them here over the Steelers at home, 28-24. AFC East matchup with the Dolphins at the Jets. Technically, the Dolphins are still alive in the playoff hunt. They stayed alive with a really interesting victory over the Saints. Really curious what happened there with returning a 2-point conversion for 2 points. Never seen that, at least not recently. And then the Jets winning on a knuckleball, long-distance field goal to beat the Falcons. So you look at these two teams, we think the Dolphins do have a outside shot at the playoffs. Probably not with a log jam of AFC teams. And, of course, the Jets are rebuilding. They've already traded away a couple key players, built up some draft picks. Should be in great shape for 2026. If we look at this one, I think the Dolphins have just a little bit more running with Achane. You got Tua throwing it. Still got some pretty good receiving options. So take the Dolphins with the 3. Broncos at the Raiders. Man, with the Broncos this year, we really don't know what to make of this team. 10-2, leading the AFC, but man, are they winning close games. And you can make the case they're just winning good games or winning close games, or they're lucky. I don't know which it is. Hit us up in the comments. Let us know. I'm sure Broncos fans have their own strong opinion. But we've seen a lot of narrow victories. The Raiders, on the other hand, go in the opposite direction. We don't think they're going to have anything here. Really disappointing season for the Raiders. We think it'll be Broncos all the way. We think they'll bounce back from that narrow victory over the Commanders. If you call that bouncing back, I think they'll be a little bit more in command here. 24-10 over the Raiders. Commanders at the Vikings, two teams unfortunately looking towards 2026 already. We're curious in this game, is Jaden Daniels going to be ready to come back? We have to think if we were the Washington ownership and brass, as they call him, we wouldn't rush him back considering this season is lost. We'd love to see him play, but why risk your franchise quarterback in a season that's effectively done? But the Commanders with a great performance against the Broncos, really one of those moral victories. They had an opportunity to win it in overtime, but really showed great heart. Mariota with a great effort there. But Broncos are just that good. On the other hand, we don't know if McCarthy's going to play for the Vikings. We're going to assume it's going to be Mariota versus the Vikings backup. So we like the Commanders here, 21-14 over the Vikings. And before we continue, if you would, just join our channel. And if you like this video or find it useful, like it and then subscribe. We provide weekly NFL picks, highlights, and sports travel. Thank you. Rams at the Cardinals. You look at the NFL, what makes it so great. We've already talked about all the underdogs winning in Week 13. This was one of those games, the Panthers and the Rams. The Rams, we ranked them number one in our power rankings. A lot of people had for Week 13, and they just played a terrible game. turnovers, and then Bryce Young and the Panthers were really on their game. But plays like a pick six, a fumble at the end when they had a chance to tie it or win it. So the Rams showed that they are human. That does happen in the NFL. Again, we think that's what makes the league so great. When we look at the Cardinals too, great division. Obviously, they had a lot of high expectations coming this season. Kyler Murray has missed most of the year. We assume he's done for the season. We'll have to follow up on that. Jacoby has played fairly well. They kept them in the game close against the Bucs. Bucs, we think, are a far better team. But we think here, even at home, we think the Rams are going to bounce back to their normal selves and win by 10 over the Cardinals in suburban Phoenix. Saints at the Buccaneers, tough NFC South divisional matchup. You look at the Saints; they're playing really well for a 2-10 team. Tyler Shuck, that's how you pronounce his name, has come in there and given them a couple good efforts. Really had an opportunity to beat the Dolphins, even in Miami. So can they repeat that success in another part of Florida at Tampa? We don't think so. We think Baker Mayfield and those receivers are going to be too much for them. We look at the dynamic offense that they have, and the defense has been underachieving a little bit. We still have Todd Bowles back there calling the shots. We think that's going to be too much for the Saints, who really, at 2-10, should focus more on rebuilding and positioning themselves for that better draft pick. So we think with all those factors considered, in fact, the Bucs are at home. We like them here 24-17 over the Saints. And now a quick betting public service announcement. We go on TikTok, social media a lot. We see all these systems. People give information like 16-1 on the last 17 on Thursdays in Western states, and the teams traveling from the Eastern time zone. Ignore all this. This is a propaganda technique called card stacking or cherry picking, which they look at a subset and give you numbers that make their success ratio look so much better. And you all hear the old mutual fund commercials. Previous success does not indicate future results. It's exactly the kind of logic you need to apply for these things. Ignore that. If you hear anyone say system or algorithm, those two words should be an automatic out. And now for a deep dive for the Bears-Packers, we're going to show you a few of the statistics we use, base calculation to get what we think the betting line is going to be, and then the stats that we key on. We'll give you a hint. It's yards per attempt for passing, yards per rush, or yards per carry for rushing on the offensive and defensive side. So first we take the points scored allowed, give us a rough idea of what the betting line should be. In this case, it should be about Packers -5. Then we want to look at the passing, rushing, yards per attempt, look at the Packers. Impressive rushing statistics and passing, but mostly passing. Bears are great running the ball. They're not good defensively against the pass, so that's going to factor into our calculations. Then we'll take it to the next screen, how we factor that in, get a number. So we think the base number should be Packers by 3. The matchup advantage goes to the Packers on offense +2. Defense, take 3 away from the Bears because the good rush defense for the Packers gives us an overall forecast 29-21 for the Packers. We round that down to a football score, 28-21. That's how we come with our final number. With the Packers favored by 5.5, that's a good favorite position. And finally, we've got the Texans at the Chiefs, a rematch of last year's divisional playoff matchup. Texans fans, you should remember that one. These two teams play quite a bit, and it's always been very one-sided for the Chiefs. We'll see if the Texans can turn that around. Been on a bit of a winning streak. Now they've got C.J. Stroud back from concussion protocol. They looked really good offensively after an early struggle with an interception. Stroud has been inconsistent, less impressive this year than he was in his rookie season, but it's that defense for the Texans that separates them. Number 1 defense in the league with plays like that from the secondary, and then if C.J. Stroud and the offense can do just enough, put up maybe 20, 24 points, the defense can generally hold the opponents down to below 20, maybe even 17 range to give them a low-scoring, borderline ugly victory. We look at Mahomes, and this was the divisional matchup last year, getting a lot of those bailout calls. They haven't received those calls this season. We're not sure what happened, if the NFL's tired of the Chiefs like the rest of us have. I didn't say that. But we think in this game, it's going to come down to Texans defense, Chiefs offense. We think ultimately Texans defense might be too much for even Mahomes to handle. We like the Texans here in a low-scoring game, 21-17 over the Chiefs.
That's all for this time. Thank you for joining. Please subscribe to our channel, and we look forward to sharing our future videos with you.